So if you think you're somebody who's got a book in front of them and always wanted to write it but haven't been able to write it, I have 7 tips for you. And why am I giving you these 7 tips? Because I was about to do an interview. I was going to be speaking to a podcast. I got all these interviews that are ramping up for this is not easy to do. There we go. This one, that book right there, the Facilite Con, that book there. I'm doing all these interviews for that. And every now and then you run into technical problems and their mic didn't work. Which, I mean, you can get through a lot of stuff, but if your mic's not working for the podcast, then I think we're kind of sunk. There was a good chance I could have just done it myself. I can do 60 minutes straight. I've done 3 or 4 hours straight. Story for another time. So I'm giving you, because of that, the 7 tips that I was going to give them on like if you were somebody who has a book in their brain and been trying to get it out, here's some tips on how to go about that. So here you go. Tip number 1. I'm going to read some of these because it was going to be a podcast and they couldn't see me reading. So, but I'm reading for you. So, tip number one, write the book you want to read, right? So you may have heard this before. Some people try to write to market. They take a look and see what's popular right now. Oh, look, dragons and romance. No, don't do that. Don't chase trends because for one, by the time you get that written and edited and published, that trend's probably going to be over. There's a good chance of that happening because it takes a while to write a book. You may have heard it takes a little while. But the other thing is just keeping up the momentum. You've got to sit down and do that every single day or a couple times, whatever it might be. And if you don't really love the sort of stuff you're writing, if that's not the stuff that you'd like to read, it's going to be really hard to finish. So don't chase trends. Write the book you would like to read. Number 2, don't announce to the world that you're going to write the book because I think there's some temptation. I'm going to write a book now. And then people go, you're so amazing. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't seek that wee little dopamine hit of getting praise for something you haven't done yet. Wait till later on because you're going to need some of that later on. So don't go and announce you're doing it, really. Here's number 2. Here's number 3, rather. Do tell 2 or 3 folks, right? Not necessarily your family. And these are what, I would say, like, is almost like beta readers in a way. So people that, because like all authors use beta readers in some way. Here's what I've written. Does it make sense? Do you like this? Do you see any major plot holes? Whatever it might be. And so you do want to not necessarily announce it over there on social media or not even maybe tell your family, but do find a couple of people that you can throw it at every now and then. And it might be other readers. And there's writer groups all over the place. You can try one of those where like they'll be like read one and get one or whatever it might be, where you sort of trade stories with somebody else or a couple somebody else's so that you can say, hey, listen, I've read these scenes here, these couple of chapters, read them. Does it make sense? Is this kind of at least coming together? And that kind of feedback can be helpful. There's a whole thing about like how much of that you can take in. But if you do get a couple of people, maybe 2 or 3, 4 people that are reading it and they all say, at this point here, I got confused. If they're all sort of saying that in a way, then you probably need to clarify that a little bit more. But if it's just one person's advice, sometimes take or leave it. But there you go. So that's your 3rd tip. Find 2 or 3 readers, not necessarily family, because they're actually really terrible because they already know you. And you want to find some people that really aren't already invested with you. Have a daily writing goal. Here's another one. So decide on like, I want to write 500 words a day or 1,000 words a day, whatever it might be. But if you really want to finish the book, write every single day. You say, but I'm too busy. It's like, well, I was too busy too when I wrote that Kane book. This is really hard to do. Look at that. So there we go. Kane. When I wrote that book, I was already working 12 hours a day as a television producer, and I got up insanely early, went to the gym, and then 2 or 3 hours of writing to be able to finish that book. That's the only way I could finish it, is by doing that. So, but the thing is, you don't have to write 500,000, 2,000 words every single day. It's just about sometimes keeping that momentum up. So have your goal. I'm going to write 1,000 words a day, whatever it might be. And on the days you don't have time to write 1,000 words, just write a paragraph, write a page, write a sentence. Heck, write 1 word if you have to. Just something, because a lot of this is going to be about your mental state, right? A lot of this is going to be about how you can continue pushing through this slog of finishing a book. And part of that is just feeling like you're making progress. So even writing 1 sentence means compared to yesterday, you're further along. If you write nothing today, well, you're the same as you were yesterday, and that inertia is going to start pulling at you. So just write something every single day, even if it's just 1 sentence. Hopefully you get a little bit more But if it's one sentence, at least you're still moving forward down the track. Have an ending in mind is your next tip. I should be numbering these. I don't have that capacity at the moment. I'm tired. I have narcolepsy. Forgive me. Have an ending in mind. What I try to equate this to on occasion is like if you were going to get in the car, decide you're going to go to Chicago. If you're in Minneapolis, basically you know you got to head east. That's it. And you'll eventually get there. You might end up going through Dubuque. You might end up going through Eau Claire. Probably go through Eau Claire. But the point being is if you have kind of an ending in mind, you sort of know where you're going. If it's just get in the car and drive, that could be a lot harder. If you don't have an ending in mind, it's really kind of tough to kind of get there. So my recommendation to you, if your first book you've ever written, it doesn't have to be complete, just have, this is how I'm going to wrap it all up. The fun part is there's a lot of times where that doesn't happen, but at least you have something to point to. And if you find out as you're writing, as these characters develop inside your brain and as these things move along, if you start to realize that ending doesn't kind of make sense, that's fine. You got a new ending now. That's fine. But you sort of need that one to start the path. Finish before you fix is another one. And again, there's some people that don't do it this way. But my suggestion to you, as a first-time writer of your very first book, get the book done. You want to keep chugging away so you can get to those final two lovely words, the end, and then fix stuff. If you end up being one of these people where you write something and then the next day you're going to edit and fix and tweak and all that sort of stuff, that's really going to slow that momentum down for you. Now, yeah, sure, there are plenty of authors that do it that way, but they also are folks that have written books already. So that can really work. And if you decide after your first book or two that that's something you want to do, great, fine. That'll be your thing. But on your first book, just charge forward. Get rid of that mental block of can I actually finish a book? Get down to those two words, the end, and then go back and edit. Because to be honest, that's what I do. And I give you an idea about my process. I'm not saying this is necessarily the best way to go about it, but it takes me about a month to write a book. I can write a book 85,000, 95,000 words. I can write a book in about a month, and it takes me 6 weeks to edit. So that gives you some idea about how chaotic some of my stuff is. Then do we have a final one? Let's do one final one. Oh, here's your number one tip. Give yourself permission to write garbage. And it's kind of related to that last tip I just gave you a moment ago. Is your first draft is going to be ugly. And what I do is, as I'm writing along, I've got like a Google Keep file, which is a little note taker, right? And I'll put a list of all the things that I need to add or change or whatever it might be. Like if I decide, at page 200 that he needs to reach into a drawer and pull out a hatchet or something. Well, I got to put the hatchet in there. So I'll leave myself a note. Go back to page 50, make sure that we know there's a hatchet in the drawer. Something like that, But I'll have a list of 30, 40, 50 things, even more. I've had hundreds in the past. By the time I get to the book, and that's my first edit, I go through and I plug in all those pieces to make all the book work. And that's pretty much it. Those are your 7 tips. I think there were 7, but hopefully you might get something out of that. And if you don't, I was going to talk about this anyhow. So it worked out for both of us. Good luck.